Yeah, it's utterly sickening and disgusting, as you're pointing out. And the CCP is very actively involved in interfering in South Korea. North Korea is very actively involved in interfering in South Korea. That includes cyber attacks. That includes election interference. That includes sending a large number of CCP operatives and North Korean operatives and agents into South Korea. And so these things are happening on a major scale. You know, what also needs to be realized is that Lee Jae-myung was the governor of Gyeonggi province when, according to the Michael Lindell lawsuit about the 2020 election, that there was a deletion of 6,432 Trump votes in Antrim County, Michigan. And so this is something that's actually very much interconnected and parallel to what's happening in the U.S. and these similar and actually same malign actors who are involved. There was also a Korean air flight that was sent to Arizona that was loaded with fake IDs and people who would vote illegitimately against President Trump. And what also needs to be realized is you have a center for enabling election fraud called AWEB that's located, ironically enough, in South Korea, where they have sent the means of election fraud to over 50 countries around the world. And guess what? This was sponsored by USAID, and the National Election Commission, which is the center of election fraud in South Korea, was also sponsored by USAID, which President Trump has thankfully dismantled. But you also have two key figures in the Chinese Communist Party who were behind these things. Wang Huning, who is one of the top leaders in the Chinese Communist Party, and Han Fan-ming, who was the key operational person in regards to the election fraud that has been happening repeatedly now in South Korea. And they are calling this, election fraud conspiracy. Well, just like people who are sane know that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. If you look with respect to Lee Jae-myung, you look at his inauguration, it looks like there's hardly anyone there. You look at these massive protests. Look, South Korea has about 52 million people. And so if we're talking about over 13 million, we're talking about like a quarter of the South Korean population. And Lee Jae-myung had to try to have this rival gathering on August 15th, trying to establish and consolidate his power and try to burnish his legitimacy. It was much, much smaller. And so you also look at the polls. The Korean people are overwhelmingly pro-American and overwhelmingly anti-Chinese Communist Party. We're talking about numbers around 90% and 80% respectively, according to the Pew Center polling along these lines. It makes absolutely no sense